The presence of supportive staff leads to positive outcomes for all students, regardless, not just specific to bullying, right? It leads to students feeling safer, students making plans for, beyond college, students coming to school. And so, from my perspective, in working with staff, it's like, are you one of those people? Are you the staff person that the kids know that they can come to with anything that's going on and know that you're going to accept who they are, you're going to respect who they are, that you're going to try to help them? And so one of the main reasons kids don't report is because they don't think the adults are going to do anything about it, or they're afraid of retaliation. And so I think it's super important that the adults put themselves out there, and not only in words, but in action. I'm here for you. I'm going to be here for you. And I think the more kids feel that way about the adults on campus, the more we will see an increase in reporting. Right?
In terms of going to adults for help, how would you deal with parents of children who bully others, but because of their own prejudice and belief, the parents don't think it's a problem?
Sure. So, and that's really the one of the biggest issues around LGBT-based bullying, right? And so, the message from the school has to be to parents that we value everyone on our campuses, and our school is going to be a safe place for everyone to come to. And if they have religious beliefs in this, in your scenario, that conflict with the idea that we are going to provide a safe place for LGBT students, then they're going to have to basically try to reconcile that, because our legal, moral, ethical obligation is to do this. And that's the message that has to be put out there, because the reality is that parent is sending their child to a public school. Public school has certain laws. If they don't like the particular ways or the fact that we have a climate that values everyone, they should send their kid to a parochial school, right? That has beliefs consistent with theirs. But the reality is that if they're a public school, this is what this public school is obligated to do, again, for various reasons, and that's a message that I think needs to be sent to the parents.
Is this bullying epidemic a new thing, or do you think social media has sort of highlighted how big it's becoming? And also, do you think the social media aspect, do you think it's helpful, or it's like not helpful because at one point you can teach others, but at another point, if you're on social media, you can continue the harassment even further?
I don't think bullying is a new thing by any means. I think it's been going on for centuries, right? I mean, I think that it's gotten the attention it's gotten partially because of our world is shrinking in some respects, right? I mean, with technology, that we are just being much more aware of things that are happening. I don't think that kids all of a sudden in the last few years have started killing themselves. They've been killing themselves for many years. We just didn't necessarily always hear about what happened, in the boondocks somewhere, right, or in some middle America place or whatever. Whereas now we're hearing about all that. So I don't think it's new, and I think it's been going on, like I said, for a very long time. I think it's just maybe with the technology, the fact that we're becoming more aware, and we're also seeing the impacts of it, with, like that one, 6-month period, there were like 7 kids who killed themselves, and everybody kind of like being, amazed that that is happening, and surprised when in fact, I think that it's been happening for a long time, but we're just now learning about it.
Yeah.
And in terms of the social media piece, I'm not totally sure what your question is about.
Well, is social media helping stop it, or do you think it spreads it? Is it kind of like firefighting fire, like water?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's another tool that is being used. Can it be used to stop it? Absolutely. I mean, I've seen some examples. Like there was some high school football player who he created this whole tweeting thing around, basically around saying we accept everyone, and specifically calling out, responding to some LGBT kind of slurs that were happening. So this is an example of a positive way in which kind of technology and social media is being used. But obviously, it's also a way in which people are getting away with really obscene things and being able to do it anonymously and not having to be held accountable for it, right?
Is there a point at which bullying becomes criminal?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So here's the thing. Most conduct that happens on schools is much of conduct that happens in school is also a criminal violation. So what often happens is that you may only hear about, you know, this kid getting suspended for doing something, but what also may have happened is that they got cited by the police for the same conduct, right? So yes, much of the conduct is also criminal, and it's also something that could possibly result in a civil claim, right? So say someone's harassing you for whatever reason, and they may get disciplined here, but your family may decide that we're going to pursue civil charges too if it had some, you know, negative impact. So for instance, some of the kids who have killed themselves, their families are suing the school districts for failing to protect them, that kind of thing. So,
Okay, I have 2 questions. First of all, is there a specific law that states exactly how students, that states that students, is there a specific punishment set in the law for students when they bully others? Or is that up to the administrators always?
It's up to the administrators, and it depends on the student. So what the law really expects that for first offenses of most things, that kids are not going to be suspended. For instance, no one is going to be suspended. There are some sections that if they violate, they may be suspended, but really your average kid is not going to be suspended for a first offense. But let's say the kid routinely engages in stuff, and the law also presumes that the administration is going to do what they call other means of correction. So they're going to do interventions. They're going to, you know, call the parents. They're going to call the kid in and talk about their behavior, give them some suggestions about what to do differently. They're going to make referrals to community resources if that's appropriate. Maybe there's a drug issue, so maybe that, or maybe there's an anger management issue, so maybe a referral to that. Maybe they're going to get a counselor to come talk to the kid. So the law presumes that schools are going to try to support the kids who are having difficulties with their behaviors, but if that fails, the law then says discipline. So discipline could range from, you know, detention, Saturday school, lunch cleanup, to suspension, or to possibly expulsion. And it really depends on the kid, depends on the violation, you know, whether it's the first time or the 50th time, that kind of thing.
Okay, and then also, do you think that AB 9 will reveal some instances of bullying and an existence of bullying that wasn't perceived before at the school? Or do you think it could lead to hypersensitivity of bullying?
Well, I think I would say we're probably on some level already at a hypersensitivity around bullying. I think bullying as a term is used very generically without a clear understanding of what the actual definition of bullying is. Ultimately, I think what will happen if the law is actually implemented the way I think it's envisioned to be, is that there are going to be a lot of reports of bullying, right? And probably more than what's been reported historically, and that as we begin to educate students and parents about what bullying really is, that's going to decrease over time, and that what we're going to get are allegations of conduct that are in fact bullying, and things that are not in fact bullying we're still going to deal with, but we're just not going to call them bullying. Because, right, bullying is used for everything. I mean, bullying is used from someone saying, you know, I don't know, I don't like the shirt you're wearing, to something much more egregious, right? So bullying is used, being thrown around, I think, way more loosely than what it should be at this point, and we need to be more precise, okay? So here and then.
With increased reports of bullying likely from this bill, we've currently discussed students and faculty coming forward in good faith with accusations, but are there any protections in the bill with false accusations? Untrue?
Well, I mean, anytime someone makes a false claim and you are able to prove that, there's a potential consequence. That itself is a violation, right? And so then discipline would result as a result of that false allegation. But, I mean, all allegations have to be investigated. So we're going to not necessarily make an assumption that it's true, but we're going to investigate it to find out, is it true? I mean, that's really the first step of the investigation. Is what is being alleged true? Right? Is there evidence to prove that this in fact happened? And then if the answer is no, and actually if the answer comes back, not only is it we couldn't prove that it happened, we actually were able to prove that it didn't happen, then there's some other pieces that may happen to that person making the false report, including education.
Well, and also because a lot of bullying happens behind closed doors,
do you foresee that as a problem, improving?
Well, it's a problem always. I mean, it's a problem in even kind of establishing that it's occurred, right? And so again, I think really, you guys are the key. I mean, all the people, all the students on the campus, the bystanders, the people who are there, you guys are the key to how successful the efforts are around bullying. Because if we have an entire school community that lets it happen, doesn't say anything, doesn't report it, doesn't try to stop it, it's going to keep going, right? But if you have an entire school community that says, you know what, we're not going to accept this. So when you see someone saying something inappropriate, you're going to step in and say, hey, that's offensive. Don't do it. Or you're going to go report it to the teacher or to the administrator. Then we're going to create a climate that says this isn't acceptable, and we're going to see a decrease in it. But we're not going to see really any changes if the kids, you all don't actually decide that you have some personal responsibility for the well-being of your peers, for the climate that exists at your schools, and that kind of thing.
You guys were, I think, out of time. So if you could express
wait,
your...
1 second.
Hold on.
First years, you have an assignment from me.
Thank you so much.